Hello everyone, and today was the day that Nintendo had their Nintendo Direct, and I do have to say, I'm a little disappointed. Whenever I got there, I saw a lot of Z's in chat. The first thing that they showed off was actually just DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which is just straight up disappointing. If you were going to announce anything involving Pokemon, it should have been better than that. Then they had Sonic Superstar, which is essentially just Sonic Origins 2.0, because I think Sega is just straight up out of ideas, so they're just going to keep trying to remake Sonic as much as possible, as long as people keep buying it. Now, the next game on the list is a game called Palia, which is a free-to-play adventure sim. It looks like it's trying to compete with things like Minecraft and Stardew Valley, things like that. Then you have Persona Tactics, which is a tactics version of the Persona games. Some people will be really excited for this. Me, personally, I'm not super into the Persona games, but I know there are plenty of people that are. And then there's this game, this Myth Force game, which is a roguelike game that has drop-in, drop-out multiplayer. This game actually looks really intriguing. It actually looks really good, very good visuals with a great art style. This could be a big game just because of the multiplayer aspect of it. And then for all of you Pokemon fans, there's Detective Pikachu Returns, which is another Detective Pikachu game. So for those of you that played Detective Pikachu and liked it, because there was actually a pretty big audience for that game, here's a sequel for you. And right here we have one of the biggest wins of the show for Nintendo, and it is literally just a Super Mario RPG remake. And this is something that people like me have been asking Nintendo for years. This is one of the best RPGs of all time. I don't care what anyone says, it easily is in that category. It is also the easiest game to introduce first-time JRPG players to. It has an excellent art style, and it looks like it's just going to be updated, and that is one of the best things that Nintendo did this show. This is a huge game for Nintendo, and I think a lot of you that have never played it are going to be really surprised by how good that game is. And then they did a thing where they teased a Peach game, but they didn't reveal anything else other than this is a game that's going to be starring Peach. They are also working on a remake of Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, the 3DS game, so it'll be on the Switch, so all of the people like me who did not play it while it was on the 3DS can play it on the Switch, comfortably sitting from our couch. But also, there's a weird announcement that happened after this. They are releasing the Batman Arkham trilogy, Batman Arkham Asylum, Batman Arkham City, and Batman Arkham Knight on the Switch, and this is really weird that they're releasing it so late into the console's lifespan. I figured they would have tried to get this out as quickly as possible to make sure that they could make as much money off of it as possible, but considering these games are over 10 years old, I don't think there's a lot of people wanting to replay these games, especially considering you can get them on the PS4, the Xbox, and on PC, and it runs better on every other platform, so why would you get the Switch version? So then there's this game Gloomhaven, which is based off of a board game, and this looks like a turn-based RPG, which there have not been a lot of those over the years. Now, this looks interesting, but at the same time, it looks like there's a lot of problems with the frame rate, and that has me turned off. But also, if it's running on the Switch, that also explains the frame rate problems. At the same time, I would much rather play a game like this on my PC, but that's just my personal preference in that matter. And yeah, they showed off Just Dance 24, and believe it or not, the reason that they keep making these Just Dance games is because these are actually one of Ubisoft's best-selling games, and it sells best primarily on Nintendo platforms. So I'm not really surprised by seeing Just Dance show themselves off at Nintendo's event, because this is the platform they sell best on. Then there's this game Silent Hope that appears to be similar to like Diablo or Torchlight, where you run through dungeons, you collect gear that helps you get further in the game to show off more of the story. It seems like a pretty good game that could actually go either way. It could be really good or it could be really bad. Just from the art style, it looks pretty good and it has a pretty good sense of direction from the outside looking in. Then there's this Fae Farm game, which looks similar to Stardew Valley in some ways, but it also appears to be taking elements from other games to create its own identity. But whether or not this game is good, I don't know. We'll have to wait until people actually play it to see if it is. And then there's this sequel to this Hot Wheels game that I never played, but apparently it was good enough to get a sequel, so just like Fae Farm, we'll have to wait until it comes out to see if it's any good. And then there's this game Manic Mechanic, and this is similar to a lot of other games where they give you a job and then they make it super difficult to do by throwing in all of these other elements that have nothing to do with the job that you're going on. And this is a very popular genre right now, and I have no idea why, but we'll see what happens to the game once it comes out. Then they showed off some DLC for Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, and if you're a fan of that game, that's fine. I haven't played it. I've actually played the original, which I actually really enjoyed, but I haven't played Sparks of Hope, so I'll have to wait until I get that game and actually start playing through it to give you my thoughts on it, but we'll see if the DLC is any good. And this is probably going to upset some people. I am not a huge Dragon Quest fan, so seeing Dragon Quest at the end of that didn't really hype me up or anything. I know there's plenty of people who are huge Dragon Quest fans who are super hyped for this game, but the thing is, I put this in my notes, I feel like every 6 months they're announcing a new Dragon Quest game, but maybe that's just me. So this was Nintendo's second big win of the showcase, where they showed off Pikmin 4 and all of the things that they've added to the game to make it more expansive in many other ways. This is one of those games that I was excited for, that I was thinking Nintendo was actually going to announce it, along with the Super Mario RPG remake. This is the second big game in this showcase. And I'm gonna say, Mario RPG and Pikmin 4 are my two favorite games of this showcase. I don't care what anyone says. Then on top of getting Pikmin 4 finally announced, Nintendo also announced that they are re-releasing Pikmin and Pikmin 2 on the Nintendo eShop, and you can actually get them today if you want to. And once again, I would highly recommend you try out the Pikmin games because they are one of those underappreciated franchises, especially in terms of Nintendo franchises, because a lot of the times there's two types of Nintendo fans you'll run into whenever it comes to Pikmin. You'll run into the people that absolutely hate it, but they can't give you a reason that they hate it, and you'll run into people like me that love it, and I could give you a laundry list of reasons why it's such a great game. Konami has also announced that they are going to try and milk the Metal Gear Solid franchise for as much money as they possibly can, as they are re-releasing the Metal Gear Solid series. Now, this is just the first volume that they're releasing, so you already know they're planning out how are they going to release these volumes and put as few extras in as they can while doing as little work as possible, because these are not remasters. These are just re-releases of the original game. They are doing as little work as possible so they can try to make the most money off of this franchise that they basically kick the creator out of their company just because. This, I honestly believe, is one of the biggest downsides of this show. And I know that's going to upset a lot of Metal Gear Solid fans, but to be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of Metal Gear Solid. Now, the next 3 games, I don't really have that much of an opinion on. First up, we have Vampire Survivor, which is an extremely popular game that I've seen a ton of people play. I've never played it, but it looks a lot of fun. It's a roguelike type of game where you have to survive for 30 minutes. You level up, collect chests to get better gear. Looks like a lot of fun. This next game, Headbangers Pigeon Royale, I have no interest in this. This looks like a game made up of mini games that does not intrigue me very much. It looks kind of boring, in all honesty. Then we have Penny's Breakaway, which is made by the same team that made Sonic Mania, so that puts the expectations up a little bit, but in terms of 3D platformers, especially right now, a lot of people don't really care about them. I've seen some people saying that this game looks exciting and that they're excited for it, but we'll have to wait until this game actually comes out to see how excited people actually were for it. Then there's Mario Kart DLC. Yeah, Mario Kart DLC. That was the big Mario Kart announcement that they had. Then there's a remake of a PlayStation 1 game, the Star Ocean 2 game. Now, I didn't play this game growing up, but I know there's a lot of people that actually really like this game and are really excited to see it remade. The first thing that I noticed whenever this came up is this has the exact same style as Octopath Traveler, and this is one of the things that I've noticed that's becoming more and more popular. A lot of big studios will take that type of art style that indie studios will do, and the reason they do that is to save money, and that's what this desperately feels like. The studio wanted to remake Star Ocean, but they didn't want to put a lot of money into it, so they used an art style that would allow them to skimp out on a lot of other things like animations. That's one of the things that this art style allows you to do. You don't have to animate things as much, and you don't have to spend as much on graphics. That is the first thing that stood out to me, but as long as the game is good, it can use this art style as long as it's good. Then there's WarioWare Move It, which is a very good deal because WarioWare is one of those games that it's a really fun like party game that you don't really have to be into video games to play. You just kind of need to know what buttons to press, and with this game it's going to be heavily centered around motion controls. We'll just have to see how well that works out at the end of the day. So here we have Nintendo Live, which is an event that Nintendo is putting on in Seattle, and this event will also have Mario Kart, Splatoon tournaments going on, and there will also be some Smash tournaments that Nintendo is going to be putting on. And the entire time this was playing, the only thing that kept coming into my mind is this the reason that Nintendo shut down the Smash community tournaments? Is this the reason? And if it is, I gotta say I'm super disappointed in Nintendo. You have such a hardcore dedicated fan base that has literally done so much for you that you cannot even recognize, and you still treat them like trash. You can go to this event, you can choose not to go to this event. If you want my opinion, you should go out of your way to support the independent Smash community tournaments. Now, showing off a Super Mario game is a great way to end the show. The problem is, a lot of people, myself included, didn't really want another new Super Mario Bros. Game. And yes, this game doesn't carry the title of New Super Mario Bros., but this is essentially a continuation of the same series. It's the same art style, it's the same graphics style. The only thing that they did is they added some LSD trips into the game. That's the only difference. This was honestly probably one of the worst ways you could have ended the show. What you should have done is probably showed off this game, and then immediately after that you should have showed off Super Mario RPG Remake, and that probably would have made the end of your show a lot better, because the way it ended really just left me going, is that it? Is that really all you have to show? And yeah, that's all Nintendo had to show. Now, the only other things that were really shown off during this event was a Splatoon event and some new Zelda amiibos based off of the new Zelda game. Other than that, there really wasn't much going on, and all of the games, in my opinion, were games that we had seen before, or games that really didn't bring anything really new or interesting to the table. And the few games that Nintendo had that really were games that we were looking forward to were just few and too far between, and there are only really 2 games in this entire showcase that I would go out of my way to play, and that is literally just Super Mario RPG and Pikmin 4. Other than that, I'm really not interested in anything else that Nintendo showed off. Other than that, there's not really much more that I can say. I would like to hear what you thought about this, because I'm definitely sure some people have some different opinions than me. So I would honestly like to hear what you have to say. Just leave a comment down below. I'll get to it whenever I can. Like the video, subscribe, ring the bell. Statistically, just saying that increases the possibility of someone doing it, but I'm going to guess most of you aren't going to even get this far into the video.